Hello everyone. I thought of recording a video and showing how the cards are getting revealed with using Verus IDs. Just for small demo purpose, I am taking two player nodes. So, so the configuration is very simple with Verus. So all the player has to do is it has to configure to which dealer and table it wants to join. So this is the player config. This is the player config. Dealer ID, table ID, and then wallet address. This is the local address from which the gaming transactions will be spent. And player ID. This is also Verus ID. So all the gaming moves by the player will be recorded in the this Verus player ID. Okay. So for player 2 also more or less same. Only the player ID will be different. So if you see the player ID, only thing is the different thing. And for dealer also the configuration is very simple. It has to configure the table parameters and table IDs. So if you see this is the table parameters along with table ID, and this is the own dealer ID. So for the players, what the node in which the player node is running, that node has the access to spend that make an update to that ID. Okay. Okay. To start the dealer, I'll simply bet D. So it will start the dealer. So what happens is initially whatever the table parameters configured, those things will be updated into the table ID, right? So this is the table ID. So at the moment it is taking multiple updates, but when the table is started, I'll make all these updates. Now 3-4 block updates it is happening, so we can club all these 3-4 things into one thing and make it in a single update. Yeah. So the B8 got mine. So if you see the table info got updated into the table ID. So using the Verus get identity, it is not human readable. So for that thing, we provided some parsers, that is like print ID, and then so the syntax is very simple. Print ID and then ID name and then type of the ID. The type of the ID can be table T, or player means P, cashier means C. These are the three types of the IDs in our ecosystem. If you see, every game has unique game ID and then game state. So we have, one second, let me open. Yeah, we have different game states. Game state 2 means table started. So if you see, the game state 2 is table started, and by now the table ID will be having the table information. Okay. And then we can start the player node dot bet p. So this information is fetched from the table ID, and this is the paying transaction. The in this initial paying transaction, the data part of the transaction will be used by the player to communicate its ID, its configured ID P1 to the dealer. So we can see. So it's not yet updated to the player ID since the transactions are there in mempool. You can see these are the keys in the player ID. Game ID key means this unique string that did, that is a string which is unique to each game, and player deck key, it contains the initial shuffle deck of the player. So, I mean, the information about all these, for each ID, what are the keys underlying, what are the underlying keys, and the structure of each key. I mean, what data we are storing in each key. Most of this information I written in Git pages in README. You can check it out. So if you see, initially when the player is joined, so it has its own ID, it has its own public key, and it's a, just for demonstration purpose, I'm showing 10 cards. So if you see, this is the initial card info. Okay. Likewise, the player 2. Like player 2 also will make the paying transaction, and the data from the paying transaction will be read, and it is committed to the, and if this paying transaction meets the proper valid checks, then this data is committed to the table ID. And even if you see the table ID, by now you can see one player information at least. Print ID. If you see, the player 1 is already joined. So till both the players are joined, the status of the table is table started only. Once if both the players are joined, it will move to the players joined. Once the players are joined, the players will shuffle the deck and update the shuffle deck to its own IDs. And after that thing, the status will be moved to the players done the shuffling, and then the dealer will do the shuffling, and then blinding, and then the blinder or cashier will do the shuffling and then do the blinding, after which the revealing card and then the round betting. So these are the main states in the game state at this moment. You see both the players are joined, then the dealer is saying table is full. So right now, since the table is joined, both the players will shuffle the deck and updates to it, update at its ID. Okay. So game state 4, players join the table. Now dealer will take this deck information from the player IDs, from both the player IDs, and then it will shuffle that deck and update that information in the table ID. So if you see in the logs, deck blinded with the dealer secret key. So this is player 1 and this is for player 0. The indexing starts from 0. Yeah. And we can see this same blinded deck is updated at the table ID. You see TDP1 deck, it is nothing but T stands for table, D for dealer, P1 is player 1's deck. This is the shuffle deck, player 1 shuffle deck after from the dealer. See, TDP1 deck, TDP2 deck. These are the shuffle decks which are updated at the table ID. Once this shuffle decks gets updated, the dealer updates the game state to 5. Game state 5 means dealer deck shuffling by dealer is done. Okay. So now if you see, this is taking some 3 4 block updates, right? Like I'll combine all these 3 4 block updates into one. So it won't be this much delay. Just for my testing, like I separated some of the process. Yeah, you see, these are the Taylor public values. Like, right, like the player's deck is shuffled by some secrets, and those secrets will be multiplied with the generator point of the curve 25519. We'll get the public points. And Taylor updates these public points to its own ID, and these public points are useful in revealing the card. So if you see, deck shuffling by Taylor is done. So the game state is 5. Okay, then I'll use this node to start the cashier. Cashier is dot bets C. It's very simple. So if you see here, the cashier shuffle and blind deck. So the cashier will take the blinded deck information from the table ID, and then the cashier will shuffle that again, and then it will blind that deck. And the cashier shuffle deck is updated at this moment. I'm just updating in a table ID, but the cashier will have its own ID in which the deck information is updated. So if you see, deck shuffling by cashier is done. Once if the deck shuffling here, if you see, deck shuffling by cashier is done. So once if the deck is done, deck shuffling by cashier is done, the game state will start. It's time for game. Just some log. So now this is the card which is revealing from the deck. Player 0, card ID 0, and card type 1. That is like whole card. Okay. So this is player 0. I mean, if you see, yeah. So if you see, this is player 0. So now it has to reveal its so now this player will get the card. So in order for this player to get the card, the cashier will give you the specific blinding value to this player. It means it just updates this blinding value at its deck, at its table ID, sorry. So the player will read this information along with the public key informations which the dealer gets updated to reveal its first card. If you see, the card value is 3. So the deck is numbered from 1 to 52. And then it is player 1's turn. Yeah. So the player 1 will has card value 5, and then this thing again it will shuffle, right? So now the card value is 4. Again the player 1's turn. This is player 0 and this player 1. So the first player 0 got the card value now 4. Before that thing it got something. Okay, the first card it got 3, and then after that the player 1 will got some card, and then player 0 got the card as 4, and then player 1 will got the card as 8. So this is the initial, the whole cards are drawn. So once the whole cards are drawn, so the small blind betting will happen. So yeah, that thing I will show in, yeah, right now I am working on that part. So probably in next week video, like I'll showcase showcase you like how those betting moves will also be happen. So yeah, ideally now if you see once the card drawing is done, yeah, round betting is happening. So yeah, for this, yeah, this is not yet fully done, but like yeah, I'm doing. Next week I'll update. Yeah, thank you.